This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Actually, Kenny sends his best while he enjoys some well-deserved me time. Nonetheless, hope you stick around for the next 30 minutes and maybe learn something you didn't know about Georgia agriculture. Straight ahead on the program, football put them on the map. But did you know that Creekside High School in FAIRBURN has quite the ag ed program? Yeah, see, you learned something already. Also on the show, Perennial Peanut Hay. Its popularity is growing, so much so that this Worth County farm says it is difficult keeping up with the demand. We'll break down its benefits. Plus,
well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick. Coming up a little bit later, I'm hanging out in Macon at the Museum of Arts and Sciences and spending some time with these guys and some other animals relevant to ag in Georgia. That and a whole lot more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
educating students about the importance of agriculture in their everyday lives is paramount for the future of the industry. That's especially true in metropolitan areas where those opportunities are few and far between. Damon Jones takes a look at one such program around Atlanta that allows their students to learn both in and out of the classroom.
Greenhouses, chicken coops, and a thriving vegetable garden aren't the type of things you expect to see outside of an Atlanta area school. However, the ag education program here at Creekside High School is anything but typical, as it exposes their students to life on the farm right in their backyard.
We're teaching students in a way to live off of our land, the importance of knowing the things that you would not necessarily learn if you're not in a place like a Georgia. But it really brings home the fact that our students have the opportunity and the availability to learn something that may have been looked over in the past.
They're either possibly living in a subdivision or apartment complex, and I feel that those students need to have the same opportunities that students in the rural areas are having, where they're an abundance of agriculture. They're being able to make that real world connection. When they go home, they're actually living the agricultural life. And I want these students here in the suburban area, metropolitan area, to be able to have that same experience and opportunity.
And it's not just knowledge, but also an appreciation for the industry this program is looking to instill, as many of these students are unaware of just how much it affects their everyday lives.
Students need to be able to understand where their food comes from and actually the importance of agriculture. We wouldn't have the homes that we live in. We wouldn't have the food that's on our table. We wouldn't have the clothes that we're wearing without agriculture. So I want to teach students all about agriculture and how relevant it is in today's society.
This education extends far beyond the classroom, as they get an up-close look at every aspect of the growing process.
We have our garden area out here where we're teaching students how to grow their own food, starting with a small seed, and then as you can see what we're producing here. Students need to see that whole process and just know that you go to the store to get your food, but hey, it starts somewhere, and if we're eating today, we need to thank a farmer.
And getting their hands in the dirt helps conceptualize the lessons from the classroom by allowing students to get practical, real-world experience.
I feel that actually giving students the opportunity to practice what I'm teaching them through experiential learning and hands-on learning is the way to go. Students are actually able to learn knowledge and concepts in class, and then we take them out here to this garden and put them to practice, or we go in the greenhouse and put them to practice. It's very important, and it helps make the connection.
It's a connection that can be valuable to all students, not just FFA members, as agriculture provides many different career paths.
I think it's important so we are able to show students the importance of living off the land and being able to show the importance of how to use the resources that are around us in order to move forward in life, whether it be through agriculture or the other opportunities that come through agricultural departments.
Reporting from Fulton County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
All right, thank you, Damon. In other ag news, and it's actually some good news, farmers now have some predictability when it comes to employee wages. This after the Department of Labor announced a change in how rate increases are determined. American Farm Bureau's Allison Crittenden breaks it all down for us.
So we're no longer using the survey-based wage methodology that have all of those drastic swings from year to year of a 23% increase in one year or a 10% increase in a different region. Instead, we're moving to a 2-year freeze and then using the employment cost index, which isn't as volatile, to dictate the increases starting in 2023. That provides stability and some level of predictability, especially for the next 2 years, knowing that wages won't increase until 2023 for those that qualify for the core farm occupations. Predictability and stability are very needed right now during the pandemic and all of the market uncertainty that we're still facing. It allows farmers to plan for the year ahead without having a drastic increase thrust on them at the beginning of the year. The ECI is a more stable index with increases ranging approximately 2.24% each year on average over the last decade. So it's something that allows farmers to predict and plan and figure out their labor needs while still paying a fair wage to their employees.
Meantime, the cutting and baling of hay. Nothing out of the ordinary here in Georgia, right? Well, depends. Something that is turning heads is a father and son operation in Worth County that produces a special kind of hay. John Holcomb explains.
2 times a year down in Worth County, a peanut harvest happens. But it's not your typical peanut harvest. This particular harvest is the cutting and baling of Perennial Peanut Hay, a product Keith and Josh White, a father and son duo, have been growing for 20 years now.
He started with Perennial Peanuts probably 20 years ago, and several years ago the variety we had started losing production, and he was close to getting out of it, and I decided that I saw the potential in it and I wanted to get in it too, so we planted a new variety, and since then it has grown fairly well.
According to White, it's a great thing to grow because it's a tough crop.
It doesn't require very much water. The roots on this EcoTurf Perennial Peanuts are almost 36 inches deep, so an inch of rain every couple of weeks will keep it going. There's very little bug problems. I've never seen any armyworms in it, but I know they can get in it. But other than that, it's a pretty easy crop as far as growing it.
What also makes this crop so great is its forage quality.
Most of what we sell to are horse people, and it's alfalfa, perennial peanut, grass hay. So I mean, it's very comparable to alfalfa. The protein's 7 to 8 points off of it. But the relative forage quality, which is the number everyone goes to, ours in the past several years has been between 175 to 190, whereas alfalfa can be 210, 230, somewhere in that range. So I mean, it's very, very high quality horse feed.
Over the past 20 years, their market has really grown, so much so they've even had to turn down customers.
There's a great demand for it now, and it's growing every day. I get phone calls almost every other day about the hay. Honestly, I don't think I can produce enough. I get a lot of phone calls from North Georgia. That's a market I'm really wanting to move into, and we've picked up several customers here in the past couple of months from North Georgia. So that's out of state. We've got several folks from out of state, South Florida, Alabama, that's been clamoring for it. And you know, the more and more I can plant, the more I can push into those other areas.
And amazingly, they don't even have to advertise.
Honestly, I don't have to do anything. Word of mouth is what's really getting this going. Like I said, you know, I get folks calling from all over. I mean, people are hearing about it, they want it. Producing it is just the problem. It's extremely expensive to put in, and you know, it takes several years before you see a return off of it. But you know, like I said, it handles itself for the most part.
Reporting in Worth County for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming up next. I'm hanging out with these two little buddies, Eastern Screech House, my buddy Ranger Pete Griffin, and some folks at the Museum of Arts and Sciences right here in Macon, learning about the animals they have and how they relate to ag. That's after this.
We appreciate our brave men and women so much. Farmers and ranchers, sons and daughters, and people from rural America have answered the call to defend our national security for years and years and years in the history of our country. A lot of people don't realize it, but 44% of the military personnel come from rural communities and farms and ranches across America. And after they've served their time, they go back to their rural communities, and a lot of them are interested in agriculture, and we want to be there for them. The men and women that work so hard to defend our national security is perfectly equipped to assure our food security. And we want them to know that our Farm Bureau membership is always open to them, and we would be honored to have them in our presence. Our military veterans come back home to their communities equipped with discipline, determination, and the willpower to do very difficult things. In agriculture, farming is a difficult occupation. So they are equipped to take very good care of animals and cropland and meet those challenges. So through the Farm Bureau Patriot Project, we set up mentorships between veterans that come back home that's interested in agriculture with experienced farmers. We want them to build a trust between each other, to learn the business, and that farmer pass on resources that young veteran could use to be successful in his business. We're very thankful to our state farm bureaus for being a great partner with us to help find those veterans, and also the Veterans Farmer Coalition that is a great partner to us. But I'm proud of our organization. I'm proud that they are taking men and women that's dedicated their life to our freedoms and protecting our country to an industry or occupation that I love, and that's farming. We owe a debt of gratitude to our veterans for what they have done for us individually and for our country. And we want to offer to them to be part of our Farm Bureau family. And we encourage them to go to fb.org, our white website, and learn more about the Patriot Project. And hopefully they'll be part of our Farm Bureau family, and we would be honored.
So, remember back in grade school, those annual field trips to the museum? Always a lot of fun, right? Well, it was those types of experiences that influenced young Nicholas Fuhrman, who eventually grew up and became a college professor and found his way to our TV screens. Although, truth be told, I think he's still working on the growing up part.
Well, once all the social distancing stuff is over and we're back out and about doing things with our friends and family, I thought I would show you a place this month that you can come to right in central Georgia that's going to give you an opportunity to see some wildlife, both local and exotic, and have some fun with your friends. And I want to introduce you to a lady that you might get a chance to see when you're here, and that's Miss Sharon Cornacione. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yes.
That was really good.
Got it. This lady is in charge of all animals here at the Museum of Arts and Sciences right here in Macon, right around the corner from the Georgia Farm Bureau home office. And Miss Sharon, you got a couple friends behind you there that I want to tell the folks at home about. Tell me about these two friends and why they're here at this museum.
Well, here at the museum, what's so interesting about this museum is that we do have a mini zoo. So all of the animals here serve a huge purpose: education, education, education. We have a saying here at the museum: fear comes from lack of knowledge.
Good,
so the more that we can educate people about the animals that live around us here and in the world, the better off everybody is. And these guys here are what we call ruffed lemurs. The larger one is a black and white ruffed lemur, then we have a red ruffed lemur. Some of the interesting facts about them: number one, they are the #1 pollinator over in the islands of Madagascar, just like the honeybee is here, because of that ruffed fur around their face.
Okay.
Also, they're on the seriously endangered species list.
Wow.
So we can talk about how important it is to know the animals around us, what we can do to protect them.
Now, not only these guys being exotic, but we've got some native animals that we're going to take a look at next, the kind that come out at night that are very relevant to ag in Georgia. So let's walk together down there and show everybody at home these guys next. So let's do it. All right, so join me as we walk into this brand new bat cave here at the museum. And Miss Sharon, right off the bat, I'd like to ask you about, we're standing in this brand new exhibit. It's not open yet, but it will be soon. And I had mentioned to the folks at home a little bit ago about native bats and native species. However, you say this is not going to be a home for native bats. What are you going to put in here?
Actually, what we're going to put in here, and we had thought about native bats originally, but because they're so small, we thought, well, we need something that is visibly, you know, there that people can see a lot easier. So we started researching bats, and we came up with the African straw-colored fruit bats. They eat a lot of the same things that a lot of our other animals eat, so feeding them's pretty easy. They're about 9 inches tall and about a 2.5-foot wingspan.
Wow,
so they'll be really substantial in here, and people will be able to see them very easily.
That's going to catch attention. People are going to come in here and see, and they're going to be able to see along the outside here too. You had mentioned on this back wall, what's this going to look like once they're in here?
Well, the effect is when they walk in, they'll feel like they're walking into the cave, but that they're actually looking out of the cave. It's going to be an African scene, which is where the bats are native to. So it'll actually feel like they're looking out of the cave once that mural goes up there.
Wow, and I know that once they're in here, you guys are going to take great care of them. And I noticed this guy up here, maybe not cared for so well. It's just a skeleton. We tape this around Halloween, so it's okay if you're.
Yeah, that's actually here for an event that we have tomorrow night.
He's looking a little thin, you know, but let's venture into another aspect of this museum and show the folks at home before we wrap up about the mini zoo here. So let's go there next. Well, from the Bat Cave to the Mini Zoo, we're inside now at the Macon Museum of Arts and Sciences, and I'm standing here with Luke Daniel. Luke, you've got a friend. I was handed a friend. Tell me a little bit about the friend you have, and then tell me about who I have here.
Yeah, so this is Miss Daisy. She's our albino Burmese python here at the museum. A long time ago, Burmese pythons actually used to be really popular pets. That said, the reason they were really popular pets is a lot of people would see a snake this big. They didn't know it would get this big. They'd see a snake about 1.5 feet, 2 feet long, really pretty snake. They'd buy it, take it home, have no idea what kind of snake it was. That's what happened to Miss Daisy here. She was actually bought by a family here in Georgia, took home, kept as a pet in a Tier 3 ferret cage until they could no longer care for her, and brought her here to the museum when she got too big.
And I just think about that, Luke, and somebody not knowing how big something like that gets. Now, I was told that this lady's name is Georgia. Tell me about Georgia, because you're a sweetie.
Yeah, now Miss Georgia's actually Moluccan cockatoo, and she was actually sold from a PetSmart here in Macon, Georgia several years ago. People actually brought her home and took her back to PetSmart 3 different times, and then before taking her back to the museum. Reason more with her is because she doesn't get, I mean, she's kind of a large bird, but she doesn't get too big. But the main reason with these guys is Moluccan cockatoos are a very kind of extreme bird. For example, they can scream at about 135 decibels, which is about equal to a jet engine. And on top of that, she has a bite force of about 500 pounds per square inch.
And now he tells me this while I'm holding her, right? So Georgia, you're a sweetie. But I gotta ask you, so behind us, these little guys, tamarins, not native to Georgia, but why do y'all have those?
Tamarins are basically, these are called Geoffrey's tamarins. They're a small species of monkey coming from Central and South America. But a while back, their numbers weren't doing too great, so we actually got them here through a conservation project, trying to, kind of breed them, get their numbers back up in the wild and everything. We did that through the state of Georgia several years ago. So now we're down to, we used to have a lot more, now we're down to about 4.
Incredible. So Luke, what you all are doing at this museum, I just think the folks at home need to know about it, and I know they're going to feel so rewarded by being able to be part of this. Luke, thanks so much for being with us, and y'all thanks so much for joining us again this month. Y'all know what to do. Georgia, we always tell people to go online to Facebook and check out the Farm Monitor Facebook page, and while you're there, you go over and you look at the Ranger Nick Facebook page and see what I got going on. And until next time, as we always say for the Farm Monitor, me and George are saying, enthusiasm is contagious, so pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back here next month. See ya.
All right, time for our final break, but when the show continues, helping farmers correct and analyze their yield data more efficiently and more effectively.
Producing food is a farmer's livelihood. The farm is a business. A farmer's paycheck comes directly from the amount of food their land produces, and their success benefits everyone.
When farmers are more profitable, there are two good things that happen to us. Number one, prices in the grocery store can take a significant bump down.
The other thing that happens if the farmer makes good decisions is that there's less impact on the environment. For example, from excess fertilizer being applied on a field. And that is something that everyone cares about.
The Cropping Systems and Water Quality Research Unit created a software called Yield Editor to help farmers in the harvesting process and ultimately make them more profitable. Here's how it works.
This is called a combine harvester, sometimes just called a combine by farmers. This tool does a lot of different jobs at harvest time for the farmer.
First, the farmer needs to separate the grain in his crops from the rest of the plant material.
They've got to have some way to get that grain into the tank on this combine.
As the farmer drives through the field, the header at the front of the combine gathers the crop and pulls it into the machine. Inside, a threshing system separates the grain from the chaff. Then the grain is measured as it moves into the tank. Combines are often equipped with a variety of sensors to collect yield measurements. These sensors collect data like the speed and location of the combine, the amount of grain moving through the combine, and grain moisture. This information is then combined to create a yield map showing the estimated yield in each area of the field. However, yield maps will almost always be filled with errors.
Maybe the combine slowed down and stopped for a second, or maybe the combine had to speed up to get around something, lifted the head. There are going to be lots of regions where the map is inaccurate and there are errors in the map. And if the farmer's making his management decisions about how much fertilizer to put on based upon data that has errors and holes and problems with it, we need to help him find a way to correct that.
The way that was done in the beginning, if you will, was to go into a data file and look through it and remove those bad data points. That takes a lot of time and can be very tedious.
In the late 1990s, we developed a system that allowed us to do that very, very quickly on our own data, and we realized pretty quickly that other people were asking us, hey, can we have a copy of that? And as a result, we started to distribute Yield Editor.
Since its initial release, Yield Editor has been downloaded more than 12,000 times with users in 46 states and 70 countries.
Yield Editor software can impact really anyone.
It's being used by farmers, but it's also being used in industry in ways that help them manage the huge data sets that they're getting that involve all of this data in a field we call precision agriculture. That's the idea with Yield Editor, is to get the data, remove anything that we think is problematic, and leave just the high quality data to make your decisions on.
When farmers improve their decision making, our food is more plentiful and more sustainable, leading to healthier lives and a healthier world.
Well, you hear the music, that's our cue. But before we send you on our way, a friendly reminder that for all the latest ag news regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening out on Georgia farms, be sure you check out all of our social media platforms, including our website, farm-monitor.com. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of agriculture and with us here at the show. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor. Have a great week, and as always, stay safe.